Hey, it's Allie Edwards and welcome back to Craft the Story. This is the first episode for 2022. I took a little bit of a break here in January as I decompressed after December Daily and kind of got ready for what my own documenting plans were going to be for this year. And in today's video, I want to talk a little bit about my documenting plans, and I want to share a project I'm going to put together with you while we're here. Actually, I'm going to do two. I'm going to do one that I am starting. That's going to be in kind of an ongoing one that I can add to, and then another one that I want to finish up here. So in our Story Kit classroom this month, the theme is Begin, and in that classroom, I really detailed what my plans were, and I want to just do a quick overview for you guys here, which is essentially for 2022, what I'm going to do is I'm going to be working primarily in a 6x8 album. I'm not doing Project Life in the traditional sense. I'm not planning on doing any other bigger sized pages. That's what I'm saying right now, we'll see. But what I'm thinking about doing and what I want to do and what I've started doing is simply having a 6x8 album, which will probably end up being more than one 6x8 album based on at least how much I'm feeling like doing right now. And I'm just starting at the beginning, and I'm going to add story after story after story. And so what that looks like, I'll just show you a little bit. Normally I don't share a lot of the things that I make in the story classroom, but with this being the first month of the year, and I kind of want to be able to show you guys, give you guys an idea of what I'm doing, I'm going to show you a little bit more than I would normally show. Again, in the Story Kit classroom with the subscription, whether you're getting the digital kit as part of the story class, or you're subscribed to the physical story kit, or the story stamp, you get access to a classroom each month that includes usually 3 to 4 videos. This month it has a couple more, I think, from me sharing my process of how I'm using the kit. So for 2022, I'm using a 6x8 album. This is actually one from the travel collection last year. We do have some of these still available in the shop. Really cute blue. It's just got a grid map on the inside. I just wanted to get started and I didn't have any other empty albums. This was the one I had here. So again, using the Begin kit kind of as a starting place here, my plan is to just simply start adding stories in here. Kind of similar to the way that I do December Daily, not in the sense of I am going to scrapbook every single day and do one story per day sort of thing, but in the sense of doing a lot of things that are outside of the page protectors and also building them one page at a time. So you can see like I did this one and then I did this one. So they're already adhered back to back and I'm just kind of creating the album as I go. So these are some of the pages that I did with the Begin story kit, just kind of getting started. And then here is where I want to start sharing with you guys. I actually did this one the other day on Instagram where I simply just printed out a photo of Simon and I, and then I used some alpha stamps to stamp on a 4x6 card that I printed out with journaling that I took directly from Instagram. So that's kind of how I'm thinking of approaching some of these things this year, is again using Instagram potentially as a holding place for some stories, probably not all stories, so that I can tell them in the moment and then I can come back and use them in here. These are all things that I've talked about many times over the years. It's just kind of coming together in a different way this year, I guess is what I'm wanting to say. So in this video, okay, wait, before we go on, let's talk a little about documenting plans for 2022. Obviously, I'm going to be working out of this 6x8 album. These will be just ongoing stories that I want to tell that are outside of other kinds of projects. I will still be doing this year, I'll be doing Day in the Life. You can look for information on the products to support that project. Coming out, I think later this month or the beginning of next month, I will be doing Week in the Life, which I think that's the next project in line there. I will be doing December Daily. Obviously, I will be doing One Little Word, which is something that I've done for the last 12 years every month. So that is something that I don't always share a lot about here publicly, but within that One Little Word community, lots of things are shared there. And then I think that this year we are also doing some more of the Stories of Home or Stories of Us collection. I think we will have another set of those for this year. So that's kind of my general documenting plans for this year. Again, not doing traditional Project Life in any sort of weekly or monthly format, but I'm kind of looking at this album as an opportunity to capture some of those more everyday stories. Kind of some of the stories that I tell in here will be a combination of bigger stories and smaller stories, and just giving myself a little bit of flexibility to work, number one, outside of projects, and number two, when I feel like telling a story, right? When I feel like doing something. I also just wanted to remind you guys too, especially if you're brand new to my channel or if you're looking for other ways to do documenting. One of the things that I showed last year was that I did start a 6x8 album just for 4x6 journal cards. No photos, nothing else, just using tons of the journal cards that I have in my stash and giving myself the opportunity to pick out a card. I can see the last time I did it was in October because then December Daily happened and all the other busyness happened. But it's simply the idea of grabbing one of the potentially many journal cards that you might have in your stash and filling them out. Writing it, getting out a pen, writing stuff down, not worrying about design, not worrying about your handwriting, not worrying about any of that, just simply responding to what the prompt is on the cards, which is a big piece of how I design the story kits and stories by the month. So I'll try to put a link to the video that talks more about that in depth as well. All right, so now let's talk a little bit about the two projects that I want to do today. So the first one is this is a pattern paper that's in the Begin Story Kit. We made a change to the story kits this year where we are now including three 6x8 page protector, or three 6x8 pattern papers. These are actually bigger than that. They're 7 by 8.25, which means they're the size of the page protectors in a 6x8 album. And I love them because I can build pages off of them, right? They can be a starting point. The other thing that we're including in the story kit this year are 3x8 pages. So this is one that was included with the Begin kit. And all I had to do was write my story down on there and pair it with a photo. So for this one here, I wanted to play around with this idea of the circle page. I have a photo of Anna here from volleyball photo. And I'm thinking about, well, actually the way that I started first was on my computer, I designed some concentric circles that could fit with this page. So I took the digital version of this page, opened it up on my computer, and then I did, I Love Watching You Play. I did 2022. This is word art that we have in the shop. I did Go Anna Go, and then I wrote a little bit of journaling that goes around the outside. So I ran this through the Mink. You can see that it's definitely imperfect. I think that the foil that I have, the white foil that I have, may be a little bit old, or the transparency that I'm using here was a little bit old. So with the Mink, I'm running the initial design through my laser printer. So it's black ink, and then I'm running that through the Mink machine to get foil on top, and that's how the white is on there. And I'm kind of trying to decide whether I'm gonna leave it. I might just leave it in this kind of distressed look. I think it looks fine that way. But what I'm thinking about that I want to do with this one is adhere this photo of Anna probably with some foam dots. I kind of like the idea of maybe stamping around, picking out an alpha stamp and doing some other stamping around that, then this would be layered on top, and probably doing like yellow ink on here just for fun, write something fun. And then this page is going to be paired with these 2x2 pockets over here. And this is where my initial plan is that this will be an ongoing story. So Anna has just had a couple tournaments, volleyball tournaments this year. And so I printed out a couple pictures there that I'm going to trim out right now. Let's just do this right now and put into those pockets. And my idea is that as the season continues, or as she has more tournaments this year, that then I will add additional photos, maybe a couple little additional, maybe some little journaling spots or something like that inside of there. So let's see, I'm trying to think of projects that I've done in the past that were ongoing like this, in terms of, that when I start creating a page that it's not finished. And it's not really something that I do very often, but I feel like if this is an album that I'm actively working in over the course of the year, that it'll be easy for me once we go to a tournament to be like, oh yeah, I can just add, I can cut or print out a couple more 2x2 photos and add those in there. And it doesn't mean that, I wouldn't do another specific story about her doing volleyball that could come later in the album, but who knows? So, as many of you guys know, the beginning of the year sometimes, and at least this is true for me, sometimes I get really excited and really motivated, and I'll probably tell more stories in the beginning of the year than as the year goes on, and obviously December will be in a December Daily album instead. I'm not really worried about looking at this of like, this is January and this is February. I'm more just going to try to experience it as an ongoing story project, as a home for the stories that I tell. If you've ever watched, I have another video here on YouTube that's why I love 6x8 albums. You should check that out. You can see lots of past examples of what I've done in 6x8 albums and just why I love them. So let's go ahead and play around with this a little bit, and I'm gonna look through my alpha stamps and pick out an alpha stamp that I can go around on the yellow. I think I am just gonna leave this because I already did it and I kind of feel like I don't need to go in and redo it all over again. This is gonna get holes punched. This will be a page in and of itself. You can see that there's the black on the other side. This actually has the photographer's markings on it because we don't have the real photo yet, which is fine, so I'm just gonna use this. You can tell that it is Anna on there. All right, so I'm gonna grab my yellow stamping ink and I'm gonna look through my stamps there and pick out an alpha set. Okay, so the stamp set that I ended up pulling out is actually one that's available in the shop right now, and we released this with the One Little Word collection. So if you're not paying attention to One Little Word, this might be one of the stamp sets that you missed, but it's a super fun alpha, and it will be similar to some of the journaling that I'm using in the album. And what I'm going for here, as you can see, is kind of a tone on tone, right? The yellow on yellow. And I think that I'm gonna just try repeating love you, love you, love you, or love watching you play. I guess I already kind of did love watching you play. So I might just do love you around in the circle. We'll see, because at a certain point I'll probably get to the end and who knows whether it'll still fit or not. And this is something that obviously you could, you know, I'm getting the same look with this sort of thing. I just like having that additional layer of text on here. And if you are new here, one of the things that you might be seeing me doing right now, so these are acrylic stamps, and I am using the top of one of our stamp pads as my stamp block. We do have blocks in the shop. We have a variety of them. Like here's one of the long one, and we've got a bigger 4x6 one, and then we have a small one. You can always use these as well, or you can use a stamping platform or something like that. Sometimes it's just easiest to grab whatever to the lid for the ink that I'm using and be able to just stamp that right on top. All right, so after I finished up that stamping, I went ahead and grabbed some adhesive foam squares, which are one of my favorite adhesives to use. I love them because they have a little bit of dimension, or add a little bit of dimension and pop your elements up off the back of the page. And so that's what I'm doing here, is just pulling off the protective pieces on those and then adhering that photo down into or onto that page. I also pulled out my little box of hearts here. On my list of things to do is to go through some of my stash like that and cull through again and kind of pick out some of the pieces that are there's more likelihood that I will use them, and you know, some of them let the other ones go, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And I'm also thinking about taking all of the hearts I have and putting them into some of those embroidery floss boxes. Just trying to rethink that a little bit. I feel like it's always a good idea to rethink how you're storing your embellishments, because even the process of going through and organizing them, or through that process of going through and organizing them, I always get inspired, and there's always things that I'm like, oh yeah, I wanted to use this, and oh, let's use this in that particular way. So that's on my list of things to do. I'll keep you posted. The last thing here to do on this one, you saw I added a chipboard heart to the top. That one had a adhesive back on that, so it was super easy to just pull that off. And then I'm using a 6-hole punch to get the holes in the correct place, and then adding it directly into my album. All right, so super fun in terms of how this one turned out. What I'm going to do, like I said, is leave these open for now, and probably later on this year you'll see me come back to that, either adding additional photos from volleyball events, that kind of thing. So looking forward to the opportunity to do that. Actually, I think I might have another photo that I could add onto there right now too. I'm gonna look back through my photo archives and see that. Now, the other story that I wanted to do today to share with you guys isn't gonna end up getting adhered to the back of this one. And what I wanna do here is I have I have a big photo. This is gonna be trimmed down. So again, this is 7 inches wide by 8 1/4 tall. So I have a photo of my mom visiting recently, my mom and my dad. And I've printed that out. And then what I did was I also printed out a picture. When they were visiting, she brought her December daily. And if you haven't watched that video of my walkthrough of her December daily here on YouTube, it's really great and really, I think, worth watching if you need a bit of inspiration to get back into your own storytelling. But I formatted this the same size. This is content, story writing content, whatever you want to call it, that I copied and pasted from my Instagram post. And what I'm planning to do is make this into a flip out that will flip from the outside of the page. And let me show you here what that is going to look like in just a second. Okay, my plan here is that I want to take, this is going to go into the album like this. So here is the main photo that's going to be hole punched. And then what I want to do is create a flip out where it's going to have, this is going to be the second page, right? Obviously this could be a 2-page spread in here. That would work super fine. Actually, I may change my mind and I might do that. Either one of these ideas would work. So one way obviously could be this 2-page spread that looks like this. I pulled out a pattern paper. I believe it was from the Hexagon scrapbook kit from this past year. We will be releasing quarterly scrapbook kits again this year. I'm not sure when the first one comes out. I'll try to get some details on that. But my initial idea was what I would do is have this be a fold in, and I would need to trim it down. Actually, I might need to reprint this page a little bit because I would need to have it be where it doesn't interfere with the holes there. But I would be able to have, use washi tape to create a flip open page that would have the journaling, actually, and maybe I want to go something like this. Maybe this would be on the inside. And then I have this speech bubble that is from one of the One Little Word mini kits last year. For One Little Word, we do quarterly mini kits that you can opt into. And this is one of the speech bubble pieces from that. I really liked this on the outside of this pattern paper as just a flip open to this particular story. So what I need to do is kind of figure out, where do I want this to be? I think that I like the idea of having this be on the outside because I still liked this pattern. I feel like it's fun and colorful, and I like how the orange even goes with this page over here, which doesn't need to be the same. So I think what I will do, because this has a title on it, I'm going to reprint this and move it over a little bit so that this page can be trimmed so it won't interfere with the holes over here. And then I'm going to grab some washi tape to use that will be the part that holds it on the outside that will get adhered to this back page. So I'll show you how that all works itself out here in just a minute. Okay, so I readjusted this one so it's 6.5. I did a couple things. I adjusted so it's 6.5 inches wide when I crop it down, so let's do that. And I also just adjusted the story here, because at first I thought maybe I would add something over here. It could have been a December daily embellishment or something. So it's a nice reminder that, like in this case, I've got room for my photo up here, and then room for my story and any other things that I might want to put down here as well. Nice option, right? Another option is to fill up that space with your text. And so in this case, what I did is I just made the leading, which is the space between the lines of text, I made that longer or bigger. Bigger, wider, longer, all of those, all of the above. Okay, so what this is gonna allow to happen is I'm gonna trim this down to 6.5 also, so that when this is folded over here, it will be able to not interrupt or be interrupted by the holes, and it'll just fold out, which I think looks great. Okay. So we don't need this guy. So I'm gonna trim this one down to 6.5, which it's 7 inches right now. So I'm gonna take, because I want this still in the middle, I'm gonna take 1/4 inch off of each edge. So it should be 7. So here's 1/4 inch off this side. And then 1/4 inch off this side. Now, a couple things that you could do here, this is one of those cases where if you want the washi tape to be totally hidden, you could, because you could put the washi tape, attach it to the back of this one right here, right? Put the tape down and have it here, because this is gonna get adhered to the back, so you wouldn't even see the washi tape. I'm gonna look at the washi tape that I have and see if there's a specific one that I really wanna use. I think in this case, I don't really care to see the washi tape, so what I'm gonna do is just use this guy, and it's gonna go underneath here. So we can see it a little more maybe than I want to in here. So I'm gonna actually make it just a tiny bit closer. Okay, we've got a nice flat fold over, and then this is gonna be able to be adhered right on the top of that. Let's see if it's, yeah, that's close enough. So you could always do it, you know, if you had washi tape that you really liked, you could leave a little bit more like that. I mean, even that, maybe I like that. Maybe like seeing a little bit of that, just showing that it's going to go over the edge. So maybe I'll take a little bit more off of this side and the other side. Okay, so this is gonna go right into the album here. Actually, I'm gonna adhere it to the back of this guy. This is what I'm doing this year. So this is how this is gonna get adhered in here to the back of that page that I just did. Now, if as you're watching me do this, you are prone to overthinking and you're asking all kinds of questions like, how is this going to work? And what happens if this? And what happens if that? And what happens when this happens? And we're just going to roll with it, right? The goal being, I'm just going to get some stories told. That's my goal here. Get some stories told, get them into an album, have a little bit of fun along the way, and not worry about how it's all going to end up in the end. All right, so then that becomes the fold out page. I still do want to add this on top of here. And now I'm kind of like, do I like that? I don't know if I like that now. But that's okay, I'm gonna leave it because it's gonna be fine. I'm gonna use a little bit of foam adhesive to pop this up here. Okay, and then along the edge here, I am gonna add an Avery index tab because I love them. They make me happy. And it shows that it flips open, right? So if you have like little tab stickers, that would work well here too. And I think I'm probably gonna add something here on this inside part. I'm gonna figure out what stamps I wanna add in the middle there. This big stamp set has a couple cute little sentiments on here, so I'm going to use some of those with Stays On. So just black ink on the inside. All right, so there's that and there's that. And so now I want to see, is there any other embellishments, any little embellishments that I might have that I would want to add onto here? Maybe a couple little hearts or something like that. So I'm going to look and see what I have that I might want to add. Actually, you know what? I'm changing my mind. So if you have October Stories by the Month, this would be a great thing to use for that. I'm actually grabbing something from the February Stories by the Month, which is what is out right now. If you're interested in Stories by the Month documenting this month, there are some actually a few different really cute pieces that might work really well for this. I mean, even that guy, even the simplicity of that, or this one that I could stamp something on top, super cute. These are the chipboard pieces that I've already taken apart here. Or this one that says just thankful, so thankful. But I like the idea of stamping right on top. That one is so cute though. Hard to tell. Actually, I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna stamp currently on here, and then we'll see if I like how that one looks or if I wanna just leave that one on there, because that might be just what it's needed. The Stories by the Month kit comes with a stamp set, little 3x4 stamp set each month. So that's what this stamp, this little currently stamp is on there. And I'm gonna use Stays On to go on top. Let's just see how this looks. And I'm basically gonna repeat stamp. I just wanna do it a whole bunch of times on here, not necessarily patterned, but actually maybe I will. I don't know, I'm gonna start like that, I guess. I think I'm going to use the Love This one on there. So this is something that I could use in the future, right? Lots of opportunities for that. So I'm going to slip that back inside of my little Stories by the Month package here. Maybe for a upcoming something about Valentine's. And I think I'll just leave that one right on there for that simple look. Again, this is the kit that's shipping right now for February. I don't know, now I'm going back and forth. Actually, maybe one thing I haven't done on here, going back and forth, either that could be added to either one of these, is the date. I didn't add the date on here. Actually, I guess I could stamp the date over along the edge there. I'll do that. Okay, I changed my mind. This is what you get to do when you're the boss, right? I'm gonna go with that. I'm gonna go with that one instead. I think I'm gonna use red line tape to adhere that on there. Okay, so one thing too, if you're noticing like, oh, this one is January 15th and this one is January 18th. It's not in order. That's not my goal. Don't care about that. Not important to me in terms of how I want this album to evolve. Like, I think it'll still be, it's gonna be close enough to kind of how the month evolves, but it's kind of like December Daily where I don't really care, you know, when a specific story, if it happened 2 days ago, or if it happened a week ago, it's am I moved to tell the story? Is it something that I want to have in a project like that, or, you know, in an album? All right, so adding that right to the middle. Cool. Love it. Love how that turned out. Okay, so a quick review here of what I have shared today in this Craft the Story video. So we talked about starting an album for the year, 6x8 album for the year. We talked about creating a home for potential stories that are evolving, right? Like a story that's gonna be added to over the course of the months or however long. I am gonna look and see if I have a couple more of those to add in there. This again was I used the Mink to run this through, and I didn't do that on camera, but that is what I did with this, with the a laser transparency and a laser printer and then white Mink foil. And then that flows into one of the Begin pattern papers from the Begin Story Kit. Stamped Love You around the outside edge there. Love you, love you, love you. Got all kinds of concentric circles going on here. And then this flows into this next story of my mom and Anna, and talking about my mom's December Daily and her short little visit here. And then added on the Avery Index tabs, and then this gratitude speech bubble that was from one of the One Little Word mini kits last year. All right, that's a wrap for today, and hopefully we'll see you back here next week for another Craft the Story video.